Hey guys, what's up? It's Darkmech here from Big Dumb Gaming, and welcome back to the last installment for 2-minute tank guides in LFR, Normal, and Heroic in the Sanctum of Domination. Today, we're covering off Sylvanas Windrunner. It's not going to be done in 2 minutes, but I will get it done as quickly and succinctly as I can. Before I kick off, want to give a massive shout out and thank you to Lozy, the GM and tank from Big Dumb Gaming, who allowed me to use his footage to get these guides out to you so quickly. And Hyper for his amazing Wowhead guides. They're in the pinned description and comment below. Make sure you go and give them a follow. Check them out, support them because they make fantastic content and it allows me to make this content for you. So let's get into Sylvanas. 3-phase encounter. Phase 1, 100% to 84%. You have an intermission. You get the boss as low as you possibly can going into that phase 3. Which, generally goes in at around 77% area, and then the boss finishes at 50% health. So, taunt swap mechanics for you guys to be aware of as tanks. You're going to taunt swap after each cast of Wailing Arrow, so when your current tank gets Wailing Arrow put on them, you taunt. You're going to taunt swap after each Ranger's Heartseeker combo, which will give you 3 stacks of Banshee's Mark, and we'll go into that, but that's your second taunt swap for this fight. Your last taunt swaps to be aware of, which won't matter in LFR and Normal, but might be a thing in Heroic, are the Morforged Goliaths and the Soul Judges. Now, the Goliaths will gain a stacking debuff of Fury. At around 10 to 15 stacks, they can start to hurt. Same with the Soul Judges, they'll have a Lashing Wound cast. If too much damage is going out, you may need to taunt swap on those adds. All right, positions and mechanics. Phase 1, just tank the boss where she is because you are going to be moving a lot, so it does not matter. First ability we're going to cover off from Sylvanas is Veil of Darkness. Now, she'll teleport and she'll put a massive eruption zone on the ground, and you don't want to stand in it. Taunt swap, first one is that Wailing Arrow. So the current tank will get marked with Wailing Arrow, and they will explode when that debuff expires. Now, it's proximity based, so the further away you are, the less damage you deal to the raid. Taunt swap, current tank, run away, explode, come back. If you get hit and debuffed with an ability called Barbed Arrow, you'll notice there's no timer on that debuff. To get rid of that debuff, you need to be affected by a domination chain. Sylvanas will shoot arrows into the ground and then she'll cast Chains of Domination. If you are standing near an arrow, you will get linked to that arrow with a chain. That will remove your stack of Barbed Arrow. When that happens, run away from the chain. Don't get sucked into it. Your raid will kill the chain. That's pretty much it. Sylvanas will gain stacks of Ranger's Heartseeker every 5 seconds, and when she reaches 3 stacks, she'll shoot 3 quick succession shots and apply Banshee's Mark for each hit. Tanks, we need to taunt off each other after 3 stacks of Banshee's Mark. Before transitioning at 84%, there will be a Mega Chains of Domination, a wombo combo if you will, where everyone in the raid will get chained. Just avoid getting dragged into your own chain, help kill the other chains, and if you did have a stack of that Barbed Arrow, this will get rid of it, so don't stress if you couldn't get chains beforehand. You'll then have to dodge some lines of Rive shooting across the platform. They're black lines that go across. There'll be 7 waves in Normal and 9 in Heroic. There'll be black swirlies on the ground, don't stand in them. And then there'll be a Banshee's Wail where you need to spread 5 yards apart, don't overlap your circle with anyone else, and easy peasy. You'll then be off into the intermission where you'll follow Thrall and Jaina to keep up with Sylvanas as she scales Torghast towards Oribos. What you want to do is you want to interrupt Sylvanas when she goes to cast Ruin. So when you cross the bridge, Sylvanas will cast Ruin. Someone in the raid has to kick it. If it goes off, you're all dead. Sylvanas will cast Haunting Waves. You just want to dodge these as they apply a stacking debuff and they push you back. DK's we can AMS and run through like power champs, but... spread 5 yards again for Banshee's Wail, which will be present throughout this intermission. Make sure you're not overlapping your circle with anyone. Veil of Darkness is present in the intermission as well. However, it functions slightly differently than it did in phase 1. In this, it'll go on 3 players and they will be smaller eruption zones. Your raid will basically stack, the veils will go out, and then you will all just run away from them as they explode. Fairly easy. After a few platforms, Sylvanas will spawn 3 waves of adds. Just make sure that you kill the adds, just clump them up, AoE them down, and that's pretty much it. As I mentioned, there are the 2 adds in the Goliaths and the Soul Judges to watch out for. You won't have any trouble on Normal. Just keep an eye on them in Heroic as the adds can hurt. Phase 3. So you'll probably be coming into Phase 3 around 77 to 75% area in the way that current gear stands, and this will only improve. The fight ends at 50%, remember, as I mentioned. So phase 3 consists of 4 platforms that get destroyed as the encounter progresses, and they get destroyed by Sylvanas' ability called Raise. Now when this occurs, you need to leave the platform by simply walking off the edge, and it will propel you to another platform. You need to make sure you do this before the Raise cast finishes, otherwise you will take a lot of damage and most likely end up dead. You'll be moving clockwise around these platforms as well, so just keep that in mind. There will be pools on the ground from the ability called Banshee's Bane, and they're the purple pools or puddles on the ground. As the tanks, this is our job to manage these puddles, especially in Alpha, Normal, and Heroic. It's a pretty simple task to do. You run through the puddle and that causes you to soak it. You can take up to 15 stacks of this quite comfortably, and then what you're going to do is going to run to the corner of the platform and get dispelled. All the puddle crap is going to come out of you, and you're just going to run out of it straight away to ensure you don't take any stacks. And what this does is it frees up the rest of the platform for your raid to stand on and deal with other mechanics. Managing the puddles in Heroic is crucial due to an additional mechanic that comes in called Banshee's Fury, and this will cause any player that has stacks of Banshee's Bane to basically nuke your raid. So picking them up and putting them in a corner so your raid has space is vital. When Banshee's Fury is going off, no one wants to have any stacks of puddles, including tanks. Now, in phase 3, 3 players are going to get targeted with Wailing Arrow, 1 other tank and 2 other randoms. When this occurs, you will taunt swap and you will move to the other platform, let your Wailing Arrow explode, and then you will come back. On the final platform, you can't go to another platform because they've all been blown up. So what you'll do is your raid will be standing in one corner and you will just run to the opposite corner, detonate the arrow, and then come back. Now, as the tank, it's really important whenever you jump over with Wailing Arrow, ensure that you clean up and you collect all the pools or all the puddles from Banshee's Bane on that platform you've jumped to. Bring them all back to the current platform, run into a corner and get dispelled. This will mean when Raise goes off and your group goes to the next platform, it will be a clean platform for them to start on rather than one that is filled with puddles. Because remember, when you get dispelled in the corner, the puddles still go on the floor, so the platform will eventually get messy. Now, Sylvanas, like in phase 1, will be applying Banshee's Heartseeker, which will put 3 stacks of Banshee's Bane on the current tank. Now, this is where you can have some flexibility in what you want to do as tanks. You can either taunt swap after this combo's gone off like you were doing in phase 1, and that tank can go and collect a bunch of puddles and then run into the corner and get dispelled. When the Wailing Arrow goes off, they can taunt the boss back, and the other tank can go off and deal with Wailing Arrow, and then they can soak puddles when they get back and get dispelled in the corner. Otherwise, on Heroic and Normal, you can definitely get away with this. Both tanks can just soak pools regardless of who is tanking and just run into the corner to get dispelled. And then you can just taunt swap after each Wailing Arrow and keep it really simple like that. It honestly depends on what kind of communication you've got with your other tank. You'll still be dealing with Veil of Darkness, so you still need to make sure you're spreading out for this on the platforms. Banshee's Wail is also going off, so spread 5 yards, don't overlap your circles. And the last thing to be aware of, guys, is Shadow Daggers, which lines will go out and you just need to make sure you are standing in a safe space. The heroic differences you'll see here in regards to tank execution, pretty much nothing from LFR, normal to heroic. The adds in phase 2 jumping from normal to heroic will deal a lot more damage, so just watch out with that. And in phase 3 on heroic, your puddle management becomes far more crucial due to Banshee's Fury because you won't experience that in normal. Any questions, hit me up in the comments below. Otherwise, like, comment, and subscribe. Thank you so much for checking out this series, guys, and I'll see you all next here. See you, fam.